probably heard the phrase, the glory of God, 1,000 times, right? It sounds big and important. But what does it actually mean for you and me in our day-to-day lives? Well, in this explainer, we're going to unpack that huge idea and see how it can become something incredibly practical, right where you are.
And that really is the big question, isn't it? We're going to try and move past this kind of vague spiritual idea and get to something, well, something real. I mean, how does the glory of God show up? Not just in some ancient text or a beautiful cathedral, but in your kitchen, at your desk, or even when you're just sitting in traffic.
So, to really get a handle on this, we've got to break it down. It turns out we can understand this whole concept through 3 core interconnected ideas. And this framework is going to be our guide for the rest of our time together.
Okay, so first up, you have God's intrinsic perfection. This is just who He is. It's His built-in worth, His value, His magnificence, and it's there whether anyone recognizes it or not. Second, we have the outward manifestation of that perfection. Just think about it. The staggering beauty of a sunrise, a mountain range, or the person of Jesus Christ, who the Bible calls the radiance of God's glory. And then number 3, and this is where it gets personal, it's the goal of creation. The whole reason we're here is to reflect that glory back out into the world.
All right, so if that's our purpose, to glorify God, what does it actually look like? How in the world do you do that when you're doing laundry, sitting in a meeting, or just trying to get the kids to bed? Let's bring this down to earth.
And just look at how all-encompassing this is. It doesn't say do the big, important, spiritual things for God's glory. It says whatever you do, eating and drinking. I mean, you can't get more basic than that. This one verse completely reframes our entire life into something filled with purpose.
And this is really the key, you know? Glorifying God isn't some part-time gig you do on the weekends. It's a constant, conscious effort. It's about transforming your whole life, your actions, sure, but also your attitudes, your thoughts, into this ongoing act of worship. It's this intentional choice to make God look as great as He really is through the way you live every single moment.
So let's break this down into 3 super practical areas. It all starts in your inner life, that private world of your thoughts, where you choose to love, trust, and be thankful. Then it flows out into your work. You start to approach your job with excellence and integrity, almost like God Himself is your boss. And finally, it becomes most obvious in your relationships, when you serve other people, when you pursue justice, and when you offer the same kind of forgiveness that you've been given.
And you know, when you start living this way, something pretty incredible starts to happen. It becomes more than just you doing things for God. It's about God's presence, His glory actually resting on your life. You become like a mirror, reflecting His light and His character for everyone else to see.
And this is so cool. When you look at the original language, it just opens up this whole new layer of meaning. The Hebrew word for glory is kavod, and it literally means heavy or weighty. We're not talking about fame like we think of it today, which can be so light and fleeting, right? No, kavod implies real substance, genuine honor, true significance. So when God's glory rests on you, your life takes on this new spiritual weight because it's anchored in something real and eternal.
Okay, so what does this weightiness actually look like in a person's life? Well, first, it shows up in your character and the fruit of your life. You start to see love, joy, and peace pop up even under pressure. You find patience when you're rushed and kindness in frustrating moments. Then it shows up as influence and favor. You start getting results that seem to go beyond just your own talent, and people look at you and think, wow, God is really with this person. And finally, it becomes this powerful witness and testimony where the good things you do actually make other people want to give glory to God.
So when you step back and look at the whole picture, you realize this isn't about following a boring list of rules. It's really an invitation, isn't it? An invitation to this ultimate adventure. A life that is jam-packed with purpose, with substance, and with a real connection to God that turns the most mundane stuff into something truly meaningful.
Wow, we've really covered some ground, haven't we? We started by just trying to understand God's incredible, intrinsic worth. Then we moved on to the practicals of how to reflect that worth in our everyday lives. And we've landed here at this amazing possibility of actually becoming a vessel for His presence in the world, a living, breathing display of His goodness.
And so all of this really boils down to one simple personal question. I'm not talking about some big 5-year plan. I'm talking about today, right now, in the very next thing you do, the next conversation you have. How will you reflect His glory?